We invite you again to join us on Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero and our regular Saturday program. And today we're very fortunate to have with us Joshua and Lyndon. Joshua and Lyndon, two individuals deeply involved in the agriculture sector in Grenada. And we're going to speak about the way forward for the farmer, or the farmer's way forward. What the farmer do now, how they function, the way forward. And who better to do it than Joshua and Lyndon? We encourage you to share our program. The number to call is 410-3030. We will take your calls. We will react to your comments and we look for your contributions. What we do on this program is to provoke discussion. We want a discussion continue to go on among the farmers and hoping that the policymakers would have effect on us. Welcome our brother Joshua this morning on the program.
Thank you. And hello to everybody in the diaspora at home and worldwide.
Yes, and Lyndon, you're brand new to the program. We know you have been involved in the farming. You're not as old as us, so you're definitely not in the departure lounge yet. I could see that from your beard. There is no white in it. Welcome to our program, Lyndon.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody listening.
Yes, Joshua, we better start with you. The government has provided, well, we're hearing some zippets. We're getting information that the government have an incentive program on in which they practically divide it in two categories. If you have 5 acres of land under and 5 acres of land under above.
Okay.
We know after a disaster like that, some of the farmers are traumatized. Some go dead. No matter what you do, some go dead. They're traumatized badly, particularly those nutmeg farmers. They have lost serious income.
Yes.
The sauce-up farmers, the
Yes.
cocoa farmers, and in some instances, livestock farmers, perhaps to a lesser extent.
Yes.
Vegetable farmers could recover very quickly. But what is the way forward for farmers?
Yeah. Well, I think before we jump feet first in terms of the way forward, let's get a little sense of who Lyndon is. And then I will go more into my monologue in terms of the way forward. So, Lyndon, tell us a little about you.
About me.
Yeah, about you and what you do in agriculture.
Okay, so in short terms in agriculture, I'm involved in the export industry, the export of fresh produce, mainly soursop, but various different commodities that fall under the fresh produce line. That is basically what I do in terms of agriculture. So I'm well connected with the majority of our crop farmers, especially the fresh produce farmers on the island.
Okay, I know a little bit about soursop, but on the ground, from what I understand, I think you're possibly the biggest exporter of soursop.
I won't say the biggest, probably second or third, but there are quite a few number of exporters on the island. I think last check we might have had somewhere about 13. There have been a number of young new exporters who came onto stream the last 4 or 5 years. But my company, we do control a good majority of the market, maybe about 25-30% of the market.
Yeah, because I remember going down to America to export soursop with Marlon, And I remember your trucks being doubly loaded and falling out compared to all the other people who are in the line. So I don't know how you become third. I have to imagine you're the biggest exporter.
I
And
won't.
if I talk to your father, he'll tell me he's the biggest exporter.
I won't doubt the number of boxes, but it may not have been only soursop.
All right, and tell us in terms of the model that you use, because I know you're not the company is not formed in an individual way. So I don't want to talk to you, but connected to your operation, there's several farmers. Tell us about your structure, the model, how you get sales
Yeah.
up.
So I think it might be best to walk back and just give people a little background who may not be aware of the sauce-up industry in Grenada.
Wonderful.
The sauce-up industry in Grenada now has been maybe about 20 years old.
Okay.
Sometime in around 2004 that Grenada would have gotten the green light to export fresh soursop into the US.
Right.
To date, no other country can do that.
Right.
So we have a very large market that we can reach out to and tap into. And the majority of exporters have been doing so for the better part of 20 years. Even with as much states and the large population that the US has, I don't believe all of the exporters are shipping to more than about 10 different US states. And the US has 52 states.
Right.
So there is a lot of potential for the market to grow and for us to get involved into the market.
Okay, can I hold you there? Let us know in your introduction as well what we have to do to grow the market. So carry on.
Okay, no problem. So let me just go into now how we operate on the ground here. We reach out to a number of farmers. We have a number of farmers.
About how many? Just roughly. Don't have to be accurate.
Roughly, I'll say probably about 200, 250 farmers.
Wow. Man, you're bigger than Caribbean Agro. Caribbean Agro, I think, employ about 30 people. You're reaching out to 200 farmers.
Yeah,
That is serious business.
Yeah, reaching out to about that. It could be.
Wow.
Joshua just wants to push the narrative that the company is the biggest on the island.
No, if you hear me talk on this program,
Maybe the youthfulness help the aggressiveness. That's right.
one of the things I'm very keen on is people being able to buy their saltfish or trust their saltfish. Because when we lost banana, we lost credit. We no longer had credit in the shop to trust we rum and trust we saltfish for home. So with 200 farmers, knowing that they are going to get something sooner or later, it gives them credit.
Yeah, it does. And one of the things that I think we can boast about is ensuring that the farmer is paid. Most of the farmers, they would receive cash for their fruits
Yes.
on the spot. We don't joke around with that unless the farmer has an alternative agreement and they want to let it bank up for a week, a few weeks. They want to get check. But most of our farmers, we understand the need for the farmer to have the dollar in his pocket so that he can go and make his purchase in the grocery store, pay his bills. So it's something we're very proud of, and we have been doing and we want to continue doing. And you mentioned wanting to know what we have to do as a people to keep that market and to grow that market.
Yes, that is critical.
Several things. One, we have to ensure we continue to protect the market. And when I say protect the market, we have to be mindful of the reason why we are the only country that can export that fresh produce. It is the absence of a wasp that bores through the fruit into the seed.
Okay.
We have not had that wasp on the island for quite some time.
Okay, Mr. Pierre's gonna pray that it never comes.
It never comes. But for it to never come, everybody has to do their part. So I know sometimes we travel, we see a plant or we see a fruit, and we get excited. We want it to grow on our land because we know how fertile our land is. And so we tuck it in some tissue paper and we hide it in our suitcase and we bring it into the country.
Oh God.
right? And this is a very risky practice. The better thing would be, if you want to do that, you contact the Ministry of Agriculture, you contact the pest control management team, and have them inspect it and ensure that there is no pest on it. If we do that and we bring it in and we plant it, and for some reason there was a pest somewhere nestling that we did not see, then we can introduce that pest here and we put ourselves in problems.
Right.
Right? I'm not saying that anybody's doing it, but
Don't do it.
it might just happen. And this is one of the things that we have to do in order to protect the market. The next thing we have to do is to grow more soursop. With a market as huge as the US, I don't think if we were to plant soursop alone in Grenada, we would still meet the market.
Yeah.
The market is just that huge.
Yeah.
The demand for the soursop is even bigger, and we don't have enough. In addition to growing soursop, we need to also try best agricultural practices.
Yes.
We have had several trips here from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Abel Rebucas, who is a fresh produce specialist.
Yes.
And he has taught us various ways in how we can maximize our yield of our soursop.
Right.
One of them being pruning.
Yes.
And I know Mr. Pierre is always big on that. Always talking about pruning of trees.
Yeah.
As a people, we love seeing a big tree with plenty leaves.
Yeah, but I've seen Mr. Pierre prune already. I've seen him climbing tree with cutlass
Yeah,
and
he loves-
chopping things down.
He loves
No,
pruning because he
that is not
understands.
that is not how we taught to prune.
So maybe we need to give him some guidance as to
Yes,
correct
yes.
me
I
to
think
prune.
after the program we'll
Yeah.
give him some.
Yeah. So pruning definitely stimulates further growth of birds on the tree, which would then move off into fruits. And in addition to that, we have to look at hand pollination.
Yes, that increases your production. I understand.
Yes.
Give us an idea in terms of how the impact hand pollination has in terms of production. You know, because I think people will be amazed at the impact of hand pollination in terms of production.
Definitely. We have had it done here, farmers taking on the decision to do, and not just hand pollination, but a combination of hand pollination, pruning, and fertilizing.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And those three things combined, we have had farmers who
Impacts.
had trees which were producing probably 6, 7, maybe 10 fruits per yield. And that has moved on to in excess of 30 fruits per yield. And not just 30 fruits, but
No.
30 good size fruits.
Yeah, that's magic.
Yeah.
Magic.
So these are some of the ways that we can increase the productive level of soursop on the island to try and see how we can put a further dent into the market. Because I mean, I don't want to give too much figures because I might get some wrong.
No, it don't
But
matter. You could say approximately.
Yeah. So at current, and when I say at current, that is before the pandemic, we were not even making 10% of the market. We were not even hitting 10% of the market. So that is to show you just how much room the market has to grow in terms of the industry.
Yeah. So let me ask a question, because one of the points that farmers make, not all farmers, but anything something positive is being done, that is a tendency in the market to try to split us, to try to cause confusion. And one of the confusion that I deal with all the time in terms of farmers when I talk about soursop is that they say, well, the exporter making all the money, them boy, and they're making $14 in US, a pound for soursop, and they're giving us little to nothing. So tell us about the risk involved in terms of soursop. Tell us about the fluctuation of prices into soursop. Now, I say that because, like I say, I'm involved a little in terms of soursop. And I'll tell you how I'm involved. I was part of the Agricom project, and I went to Honduras to see how that was being done. And I helped write the soursop project for the Agricom project. So I have a good little background in terms of the issues in terms of soursop. And I know that's one of the issues. And why I mention it is because we as a people have to learn the different parts and different roles that we play and learn to support each other. Therefore, you have to educate this morning as well,
Yeah.
because I'm a little impatient with these people pushing this kind of destructive agenda anytime something good is happening.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and it's a conversation I often have with farmers, and I think it's a misconception that we definitely need to do some education on.
Right.
Going on Amazon or going or having somebody visit a fresh produce store in the U.S. and seeing $14 a pound for soursop, it's not a reflection of what is happening here on the ground.
Yeah.
And farmers may not wish for me to hear this, but I guarantee you, the price that the farmer is getting now, the farmer is making the best profit marginal wise on the market.
Yeah.
The exporter has a lot to deal with. When the exporter purchases from the farmer, pays the farmer, he goes back to his packing house, he prepares the fruit, he has to wash it, he has to clean it, ensure there is no pest or bug on it that would be transported into the US, because the US is big on the transportation of pests.
Yeah.
He then has to package that fruit and bring it down to the airport many times.
Can I just add something there? I've been to your packing house, and there's the whole prevention in terms of pests and diseases, and it's a skill that has happened. But in your packing house, I've seen about 15 or 16 people employed there processing the fruits.
Exactly.
You know,
All of these people have to be
plus your admin staff who I saw taking money and giving receipts and
Receipts,
all the rest of it.
everything.
So when I add it up, there's probably 20 of you that I saw.
It's about that. It's about that. It's
Yeah.
about 2022 employees
Uh-huh.
for the everyday
Yeah.
um
And they have to be
everyday
paid.
operations. In addition to that, we have the equipments.
Yes,
We have
and
the
the
power
trucks.
washers, the trucks to go on the airport, and all of these things have to meet a standard.
Yes.
We have to have a refrigerated truck to transport the goods from the packing house to the airport.
Yes.
So all of these costs, they add up.
Yes.
I'm not trying to diminish the farmers'
No, it's
cost.
me. It's not you. It's me, because I've been to
right.
see
Right.
how the costs add up. So
Adds up, right.
as you were talking, in my mind came, but he didn't mention the workers and the amount of the workers that I saw.
In addition to that, we also have to look at what happens when the plane, for whatever reason, does not come, and which is a very common occurrence.
Yes.
Many times you prepare a shipment to go, you get down to the airport, or sometimes on your way to the airport, and you get a call from the agent saying, look, for whatever reason, the flight is unable to leave today, or the flight is not coming today. You may get a reschedule for maybe the next 48 hours. But if we understand soursop, we know once that fruit is harvested, we have to get it out as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Right? So all of these costs add up, and in addition to that, the plane has a cost.
Yes. Yes.
Every
Yes.
pound of fruit that goes on the plane, there is a fee to it. So all of these costs add up.
Yeah.
Then it gets to the US. The main point of entry is Miami. Distributed there from Miami. The importer in Miami, he has his cost to put. So while you might be seeing $12, $13, $14 a pound in the US, it does not translate between the
Yeah.
exporter and the importer.
Yeah, and the price in the US fluctuates. I must say that sometimes soursop will be selling for as low as $5 a pound, sometimes 7. It fluctuates. But what people do is they see a one-off high price, and
they
they
take
say
it.
that's what the
right.
Grenadian is getting.
Right.
Grenada don't smell that money.
Exactly.
You
what
know.
I would encourage the farmer to do, and that is not me speaking as an exporter and wanting the farmers to come with me, but whoever the farmer is selling to, I wish they would get into a contract with said exporter, and that would do various things.
Yeah.
One, it would create some control in terms of traceability between the farmer and the exporter. So the farmer now would not have to complain about the next very big problem we have on the island, which is pre-larceny, which is something farmers complain about all of the time.
Whoa.
But if the farmer knows that he has a contract with the exporter, The exporter is coming on X day and he's gonna harvest. They have that repertoire. They don't have to worry. If
Yeah.
something goes amiss, they can say, "Hey, look,
Mm-hmm.
we can go to the police and have them investigate."
Yeah.
I might want to add also that the farmer needs to take the responsibility. Again, I don't want to hit the farmers too hard.
Hit the
but-
farmer, hit the farmer.
I don't want to hit the farmers
Trust
too
your
hard.
judgment.
but-
We don't hit nobody this morning.
The farmer has to also take the responsibility
Uh-huh.
to protect their farm.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot want to invest as heavily as you do
Mm-hmm.
in soursop, planting soursop in your land,
Mm-hmm.
making a pretty good decent dollar from
Mm-hmm.
it, and yet still not wanting to have security measures.
Yeah.
You have 4 acres of land planting soursop,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to fence it.
Yeah.
You don't want to implement some cameras.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a security team or a dog in the land to
Yeah.
protect the farmer, to protect the fruit.
And that's so important because what you're doing is you're saying it cannot be game as usual. And what Mr. Pierre has done in the past is to say sometimes the hurricane like Beryl gives us a chance to build back better. And I think we have to push that agenda. But I want to add something that I think you missed in terms of the exporting. One of the things that I've experienced in terms of exporting, but you got to remember I was researching soursop, is that I've seen where flights have been delayed getting to Miami, and all of the soursop has been spoiled that the exporter has sent. So a small exporter might have 10,000 there in terms of salt. All of that is lost.
You're very right.
And
You're very
what I have been saying to farmers is when you factor in, as an exporter, you have to factor up to 35% for your losses
That's
because it's high losses.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes, I've been involved whereby you go to Miami and that's your first stop. And then another shipment is going on to Texas because I'm aware in terms of different exporters. And by the time you get to Texas, it's wiped out.
Yes,
It's
yes,
finished.
yes.
And that is some of the things that I think it's not so much the farmer's fault. We haven't really shared.
Share the information. That is true. That is very true.
And I think if they knew that, they would not just see like I see, the full truck laden going with some boxes and boxes. I say, whoa, Benzo making that money today, boy.
So, gentlemen, do you agree or consider that that is a glorious opportunity for some of the farmers who have lost severely in the land to plant soursop?
Yes, 100%. And I want,
fence it.
unfence it. I want people to look at some things, and I don't want to throw any low blows, but
I'll show you low blow.
let's look at this. In 2004, when Ivan passed, a lot of one nutmeg was hit. Farmers over the next 3-5 years would have planted back nutmeg, not as much as before, but they did. It's about 20 years later, and nutmeg is hit once more. Now, bearing in mind, nutmeg takes about 7 to 10 years before it starts to bear, and then about the next 5 years again before it reaches peak production.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre would be able to confirm those
confirm.
things.
So in fact, most of the farmers who would have replanted nutmeg after Ivan would have just reached their peak production, and now they've lost their nutmeg again.
That was being said to me. It's heart wrenching.
Right. Now, in contrast, when you look at soursop, you can get soursop being within 2 years or less, and it would reach peak production in about 3 to 4 years. In addition to that, what we've noticed with the majority of the soursop trees, while they may have tilted a bit, they remain rooted. They did not come out from the roots. So the farmer now has the option of propping them back up, mulching them, giving them enough fertilizer, and within a few months, he'll be seeing flowers again. And if he adds in his hand pollination, in about 3 months after that, he'll be getting some nice fruits. And he can go back to business as usual. Whereas the farmer who has nutmeg is not that fortunate.
Some of them not farmers go dead. Yeah, no question about that.
Yeah,
I wish they decide to go into
So they were
south.
dead.
yeah.
So perhaps in the way forward, some farmers have to prepare to put a serious percentage of their land under source.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I would encourage it, not because I'm a source of exporter, but I think it would be beneficial even to the farmer.
Yeah, and the country. One of the things whilst you were talking was coming to my mind was that it's almost we need a specialist team for soursop that goes around the various farmers and advises and encourages in terms of that. Because when you talk about the tree didn't come from the roots, I've seen a way where they propped up trees
Right.
with about four prongs or something.
Right.
And I think we cannot talk about that. We have to be doing it now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We have to have somebody in terms of the ministry or a special team for Soursop because Soursop is so important in terms of export earning potential that we have to do that and we have to react fast, very very fast. I know, for example, Mr. Pierre was saying, credit to the Ministry of Agriculture in terms of, well, they call him Toes. A lot of us know him as, the minister as Toes. He's from that St. Andrews area. Mhm. Yeah. So he's come up with a plan, a simple plan. People under 5 acres get 4,500. Those over get 9,000, I believe. And Mr. Pierre and I were talking last week, and we were saying it's the trickle down that we worry about. When is that 4,500 and when is that 9,000 gonna hit the account? Because we need action now. We need to be propping up our source up now. Mr. Pierre was also talking about we need to diversify our farm and have a portion for nutmeg or a portion for tree crops, a portion for citrus. We have to have a portion for livestock, etc., and a portion for under the ground or cash crop. So we have to be rebuilding and we have to be doing it now. This is not an academic exercise. We have to be doing now. The expert, the technicians, they have to be on the farms now. So the way forward cannot be okay. We've done all the paperwork. We've now lost a year and a half, but we have a plan now. Let's go and replant. That cannot work for farmers, as Mr. Pierre say. We go lose some, but let's hope we minimize those that we lose. But we have to be taking action now. So the thing that you mentioned, propping up the trees in terms of the soil, so, whether using belts or some kind of thing, there must be, salsa producers, this is how we're propping up. We're having a 2-hour session at this farm on Wednesday. Come and see how we're propping up all the trees. And we're going to give you straps and we want you to go back today, this afternoon, and prop up your tree.
I fully agree with this, and I think everything when it comes to agriculture, we have to have that practical demonstration. Not just the propping up, but the pruning, the correct way to prune.
Yeah.
Not climbing the tree and taking a cutlass. The hand pollination. I could sit there and walk you through how to do the hand pollination.
Yeah.
But as long as you're not seeing it, you won't grasp the concept effectively.
Yeah.
So all of these things have to definitely be a practical demonstration.
Yeah. So I was joking about Mr. Pierre going up the tree with the cutlass.
That's just a low blow. We take some, the farmers have been taking low blows all their life. The farmers have to be hungry. Yeah, I don't know what motivation that we give to the farmer. The land is yours. Your land. You plant in your land. You must ensure that you get the maximum yield from saucer. And one of the pluses from saucer is that small ruminants don't eat saucer. So the farmer could plant in his land, fence the land, and have an active livestock product
Very true.
while he has it. And within 3 years, it gets source up.
Yeah.
And the farmer must do that.
Yeah.
It makes no sense we continue with bamboo, bacano, baliji, and bad habits.
Oh dear.
Time has to change.
Yeah. Mr. Pierre, I wanted to share something. You know, I'm more about kind of policy and practical. Although, you know, I could talk about soursop and how to do it and the hand pollination, etc. You know, I'm not that good at the practical, but I think I'm a little better off understanding why things don't work. And one of the things I've been thinking about this week, you know, is how has the agriculture sector has been stunted and growth is declining rather than and going forward. And one of the things that came to my mind, I want to share. I'll come back to you in terms of our country. You know, one of the things that I've been looking at and seeing, and these are observations, these are not facts and not necessarily right. These are my kind of observation and views. One of the things I've been reflecting on is it seems in terms of election for power in our country, the political parties seem to have that fairly okay down tight and they know how to win elections. And obviously they do win elections. But then I thought, what about governance and governing? It feels as though we're weak in terms of governing and developing the country and developing the people and developing the sector. Because all government talks about, you know, agriculture, food security, developing the sector. But when I've thought about it and looked for the evidence, I haven't seen the evidence of a strategy or even a strategic plan to develop the sector or to incentivize the agricultural sector or to make sure policies are in place, you know, to incentivize the agricultural sector.
Maybe you have to blame the farmer. The farmer have to mind his business. One of the challenge we have here, farmers don't mind their business. The trade union mind their business.
Yes.
The private sector mind their business.
Yes.
They lobby the government, they twist the government and they ring the government hand.
Yes.
The farmer have to sit down and mind their business. And as soon as the farmer start to put emphasis on his business, they will be able to lobby the government to bring out the necessary policy to make it effective. For instance, we have been around joking around with nutmeg and cocoa. Nutmeg, cocoa, as if it's some kind of romantic relationship we have them without making money. Here the farmers have an opportunity. They have a market they cannot satisfy. Even though they plant the whole of Grenada with sauce, they can't satisfy. Within 2 to 3 years, let's say 3 years, 2 years and 1 year and 8 months. Yes, 2 years to 3 years, you can have sauce up growing. Nutmeg is and cocoa practically 6 to 10, 7 years. So the farmer have to put a serious percentage of his land in sauce up. And the farmer could use a biological fence and fence his land to help to deter thieving. And the farmer could use dogs. The farmers have to get hungry.
Yeah. So the point that I was making really is this, and I'm not going to labor on it. Everybody agrees the importance of agriculture. But after agreeing the importance of agriculture, there's little plans in terms of medium plan or long-term plan. There's no strategy for medium or long-term plan for the sector. Now, one of the things that was so striking for me a few months ago is that agriculture had declined by 6%. And I never heard the minister talk on what's the plan to bring it back up.
Minister do have a plan. Remember, you see, we have to face this reality brutally. John Compton said that the University of the West Indies have not done justice to agriculture. He said we worse off than the days of Pharaoh. In the days of Pharaoh, they had the bullocks and the cart. He said we fight with the hoe and spade. The University of the West Indies, our best brain in the country, they only talk agriculture to write books and theses, but they are not involved in agriculture.
Yeah.
The farmer in Grenada have to start to flex his muscles.
Yeah.
The farmer's children in Grenada have to understand that it's a gold mine they father have. They can't build nothing in the sky. You have some children, they bright, they don't even go in land, writing about, so you have kids coming out to school, they have an A in agriculture, they can't pan a can. And whereas the farmers have land,
I put my hand up.
the farmers have land. The daughter or the son going and work in St. George's for $1,500. And the person working with the farmer making more than $1,500. The farmer have to get hungry and understand that land is not dirty. Land is soil. Soil is not dirty. So I think in the way forward, we hope that we could provoke discussion among the farmers for them to understand what portion of land would I put in cocoa back. I know you like your cocoa. Cocoa is a romantic crop. Cocoa. You like your cocoa. You like your nutmeg. But if you're going to put all your land in cocoa and nutmeg, you go dead when the next disaster comes.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. So to conclude what I was talking on, and then I promise I'll get back to you. I think for agriculture to go forward, people have to have a love for country and a love for agriculture. I'm not saying that they have a love for country and there's no evidence to support them in terms of their love for country. There has to be a genuine love for country and agriculture whereby you're prepared to do what has to be done without even being paid. And I think that is missing. I think what we have is a script at the moment. Agriculture, link agriculture to tourism. And there's no kind of strategy. There's no roadmap to do those things. So I've taken it off my chest this morning, and I'm going to get back to Sousa. All right. So I know you had mentioned quite a lot in terms of hand pollination, exporting, etc., encouraging farmers to plant. You was looking at, all is not lost in terms of soursop. We can kind of get the trees going back. But I think what I would like your thoughts on is long term, because soursop is not a short term something. Soursop is something that we should be planning for the next 60 years, as at least in the first instance. The first kind of 5 years, these are what we're going to focus on. And we have to have people who monitor, technical people who monitor and support the farmers. You talked about fencing. I think these are not an option anymore. These are a must, we talk about the pack houses and modernizing them, making them nice and efficient, etc. These are a must. So we have to incentivize the pack houses, incentivize, the farmers. And I think this is where the CBI people have to kind of look at the transformation fund and how we move it towards agriculture and use some of those funds to make that long-term investment in terms of agriculture, not just soursop, although soursop is so important, but there's about 6 other fruits in terms of the research that I've been involved with that only Grenada can export to the US. And I know a proposal was done because I was involved in it to get about 50 acres from Grenada Estate so that the experiment could be done with those fruits and then roll it out all over the country. And those fruits I'm talking about were paying something like $60 a pound, really high value fruits. So I think essentially we have to kind of be grateful for the sauce up industry and those who have brought it forward. They've invested in it, their trucks, their pack houses, their farmers. And I think, kudos to you. I want to see you grow. I want to see you guys turn into multimillionaires. I want to see farmers turn into millionaires who are making sauce up. That is my goal. And I'm not hiding it. I want to see Grenadian farmers become millionaires. I want to see them driving their nice pickup, living in their nice house, sending their children to
You
university.
have
But I
to
fear from Mr. Pierre that they might not come back.
you
So
have to you have to you might have to agree the very community we live in, some of the most heavyweights in the community were farmers. And they did well in farming. So
yes.
it's a question of the farmers themselves
And the potential is
recognizing.
definitely there. The potential is definitely there
Yeah.
for the farmer to benefit fully
Yeah.
from this
But
industry.
we're a country of potential.
True.
So we have to realize the
Is it? Yeah,
potential.
yeah.
No, carry on.
And I think what you said, I must agree with. We have to have the technical people to go around and educate the farmers on these and to bring even those incentives. In addition, you mentioned the packing house, and what a lot of the exporters would find in not too distant future is that they would have to again do some investments in
Yeah,
their packing house.
upgrade. Yeah, I know
Right?
that. U.S. standard changes, and we
Yes,
have to change.
and we have to change with them. So a lot of the exporters would find themselves having to dip down in some reserve that they may or may not have, and to implement further measures in their packing house to ensure
Yeah,
that they are up to standard with the USSDA,
yeah, but
to keep exporting soursop
yeah,
and other fresh produce.
and that is so important. Keeping up R&D, research and development. A lot of us don't understand the importance of that and the consequences. We can't wait until they tell us at the airport, "Oh, you don't meet the standards, you can't export." We cannot do that. We have to gradually build up to that and take that seriously. I know your dad Benzo don't have that great of a problem in terms of keeping up because I looked at his pocket the other day and it was big, big,
I
and
will-
deep.
I won't comment on that.
I think it's very. I think we have the last 10 minutes, and perhaps I'll say a couple of years ago, I had the cause to deal with some farmers. The Ministry of Agriculture had something given it and watched them. One guy had an SUV and he was making noise over some rat poison. And I say, you have to be crazy twice. I say, leave the rat poison and let's go in the ram shop, man. You can drive a SUV from Sotes to come down here for five,
Rat.
$6 rat poison. You're wasting
Yeah.
time. Leave the people there.
Yeah.
Well, I managed to get him. He did follow me inside it, but he was complaining as if I handcuffed him. But the farmers have to realize that they could make money from the land. And the farmers have to come to the conclusion that I must spend more time in my land. A teacher goes to school for about 5, 6 hours. A construction worker goes for about 8 hours. You have young men doing security for 12 hours. And now we have young women stand up doing security for 12 hours.
Wow.
All movie I watch, they kill the security. And they bust their head. So it's difficult for me to understand how a strong young person whose people have land could go and stand up and do security for 12 hours but spend 2 hours in the land.
Yeah.
And the farmers have to understand that.
Yeah.
And those who talking about farmers dirty, if you want to go in the bank with your water boots, go in the bank with your water boots. If you want to walk in the street or you want to go in the restaurant with your clothes you come out in the line with, if they jig, don't go back.
Yeah.
The farmers have to start to flaunt
Yeah.
their
But
success.
yeah.
And some of the children that from the farmers have to understand the economic value
Yeah.
and importance. We could talk about love,
Yeah.
but money better than love.
Yeah, yeah. Money
Where
is love.
farming is
No,
coming.
money is love. You know,
When I see one girl write something on what is love on Facebook, I
okay,
wouldn't say it, but sorry I wasn't there.
yeah. Okay, so one of the things that happens here is that the time goes fast.
Yes,
Gentlemen, you have to
yes,
round up 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
yes.
That's what
So
happened to farmers when they're not spending enough time in their land.
yeah. So the last 5 minutes, it's about you sharing whatever you want to share. I'm not going to ask questions. I might ask for clarification.
Let me see. Let me just say that again. I want to encourage the farmers to not be disheartened. And if you see the nutmeg tree on the ground and you have no intention of planting it, replanting it, I have no problems with that. Just plant soursop. I also believe that we need to government need to look at creating or maybe implementing what is already there, a land policy act, because it's something I should have touched on earlier.
No,
That
go on.
in a lot of situations, we're seeing lands that are ideal for agriculture being sold off and being used as commercial or residential areas and people building. And if we're not careful, in the not too distant future, we'll run into a problem where we don't have place to plant food.
Yes, yes.
There are certain places that food can grow, or the type of food we want to grow won't grow there. And so we have to be particular about what we do with lands that are ideal for agriculture purposes. And the only way I believe to solve that is for, I think there might be a land act, a land
A
protection act
land use policy. I
policy.
know Daniel Lewis was
Right.
very much involved in
Right.
that, and I'm sure that work has been completed.
So we need to implement.
Yeah, we need to implement.
So
Yes,
we
gentlemen,
can
final
protect,
word.
right? I think that's just about it.
Yes, we want to.
Maybe we may have to come back again, Josh.
That's
next
what
time.
happened when you're dealing with the way forward. And obviously, we had the way forward today, but we just touched on source up.
Right.
So we hope we have you two gentlemen back in the studio next week to continue on the way forward in agriculture. And we want to thank all those who participate with us today, and we encourage you to share our program. We want to provoke discussion on agriculture. We don't have the answers, but we want to provoke discussion on the topics that we do. There is a great opportunity in Grenada for us to develop the source of industry, and you could make money from it. Let's do it. And we want you to share our program and subscribe to Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for coming.
No problem.